Check one. Check two, check three. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We're live.
That is a sweet cap you got there, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Culturally Damaged with Kris and Dan. Nice face mask there. You in quarantine or something?
Nope, man, just keeping it safe.
All right. Awesome. So, what should we talk about first today, huh? Anything major happened this past weekend?
Well, not that I can think of. Oh, wait a second. There was a big game on Sunday that involved a streaker around the fourth quarter. I figured that was your favorite part of the game.
Was that you? Or anybody related to you?
No, but I have actually read a lot about this guy lately, and I did a blog yesterday about streaking and the legal ramifications to streaking. And, not that, we're burying the headlines, of course. This is not the most important thing, but the guy's probably going to get fined about $500. He's going to have a misdemeanor trespassing on his record. But on the other side of that token, he's became a celebrity. He got the rush of his life. He probably won a bunch of money for advertising or got a bunch of money for advertising his friend's adult website. And then it comes out that he had gambled on a bunch of websites that there would be a streaker in the fourth quarter. So he won like $300,000. So maybe the law needs to change a little bit on that. What do you think?
Yeah. Look, I would take a misdemeanor. I mean, maybe not as an attorney, but if I had a profession, it didn't really matter. If I had a silly little misdemeanor like that on my record, I'd $375. Yeah. What would it cost you to defend him in this? Like a couple grand, maybe.
Probably charge him. Yeah, something about that. I mean, that's probably the going rate. It's probably about $2,000, and that could possibly get him even have the charges dismissed if he were to get into an intervention program. But I think being such a high-profile case, I think Andrew Warren is probably going to have to hammer him a little bit with a $500 fine. And he's also going to be banned for life from Raymond James. But the guy's from Boca, so it's not like he's going to Raymond James all the time. So what's the big deal?
Look, at the end of the day, it sounds like he made himself about $350-something thousand is what it sounds like. So
yeah, not a bad day, not a bad haul. Plus, he got to watch the Super Bowl for 3.5 quarters. There was an article in the paper about it the other day, and it said that he was going to do it in the first quarter. That's when they have the most watchers because people kind of tune out after a while. But he's like, hey, if I'm going to the Super Bowl, I'm going to at least watch 3 quarters.
That's a good idea. He probably made a good thing because, like you said, if you get kicked out in the first quarter, you've just missed it. You've wasted all the money, and plus he wouldn't have won the bet. So, like you said, I think the streaker, his bet was that there was a streaker in the fourth quarter, not the first.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. I think it's whether or not there would be a streaker. I don't know, though. They have all these side bets that they have in Vegas and all these websites that people can get rich. But how about the game, though, man? I mean, I think a lot of what we talked about last Friday became pretty apparent in the execution that the Bucs had of their game plan. And, man, did it work to perfection.
I would have to agree. So, and one of the things that I'm most proud of course, is my prediction. It didn't come exactly true, but I was saying that they would score under 20 points. And so, a lot of people had projected 28, 30 points or so by Kansas City. And I just didn't really see. I mean, obviously, I thought they'd score a touchdown or two. But I figured that Kansas City would have a hard time getting the ball in the end zone.
And they did. And they did not get in the end zone at all. For the first time, I think they said today that you'd have to go back to since – huh? Oh, yeah. Give me 1 second.
Difficulties in the Parker household. Have my own mic issues here. I don't know what's going on with this thing.
Yeah, I don't hear you very well. I'll give you some more.
That's probably a good thing. They're just getting a little further away from the mic, I think, was the issue. So anyway, but all right,
yeah, no, I was getting ready to say something, and I had to handle some business stuff. But I said you would have to go all the way back to middle school to find a Patrick Mahomes led team that didn't score touchdowns. So all the way through his pro career, which has been 4 years, all the way back through his high school 4 years, and then back into middle school, which I'm not even sure that they could verify that there was even a middle school that he didn't score a touchdown on. So certainly not his fault, though, right? I mean,
No,
the guy didn't make many mistakes considering.
I mean, he didn't throw any touchdowns. He's the quarterback. But no. I mean, the Bucs defensive defense played extremely well, and I think was obviously the main reason why. And the offensive line for Kansas City couldn't hold up against that defensive pressure that the Bucs were able to bring. So I think that was obviously the key to the whole game. There was the Bucs defensive line. I'd say obviously their defensive backs played well, linebackers, everybody, but I think the defensive line was really the unit that, in my opinion, should have gotten that MVP. But
yeah, no, I agree. I think the whole defensive side, especially the defensive line, because we only had to bring 4, and having to bring 4 means we could set 7 back in coverage, and it made it very difficult for him to find openings. And we shut down their 2 big players. We bracketed them like we talked about they needed to, and we made them make quick decisions to players that are a little lesser than Kels and his other good receiver. So, I mean, just domination. It was really an extension of the last time they played with the fourth quarter, where our defense played fantastic in the fourth quarter, and it was an extension of that. So I think we got the blueprint to beat Kansas City. I'm sure that Andy Reid, if he could play us again in that same game, he would have a different approach. They didn't even try to run the ball. I mean, that was evident from the very beginning. They were not going to establish a running game. They had no intentions of doing it against the number 1 rush defense in the league. But I think they really could have I think the Chiefs probably could have established a running game if they were a little creative about it. They had a couple jet sweeps that did well. Running the perimeter seemed to have worked well. Mahomes out of the pocket when he was rushed seemed to get a lot of yardage in the first half. Draw plays, screen plays, you just didn't see a lot of them.
No, but the reality is that Buccaneer defensive line pretty much wrecked whatever Kansas City was trying to do. And I'm not sure especially with Vita Vea back. And I think that's obviously the biggest difference between those 2 games. And I believe one of our cornerbacks was back in the game that didn't play in that game also. But having Vita Vea in the middle really just, I think completely changed the prospects for Kansas City as far as running.
Absolutely.
And you saw Mahomes,
so many blockers.
Yeah, instead of running side to side, Mahomes was like running backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole different ball game when you're running backwards to try to make a forward pass than it is going side to side. So
yeah, it's actually fun to just watch if you get a chance, because you tend to watch the ball when you're watching these games. But if from time to time, especially like young defensive linemen, watch Vita Vea and watch Ndamukong Suh just from the snap. Just watch how much push they get back and how much that can really cause problems in the offensive backfield for a quarterback whose pocket is already squeezed off at the very beginning. Those guys don't get a lot of sacks. They don't even get a ton of tackles, but they make things so much easier for guys like JPP and Shaq Barrett, who are on the edge, not getting double teamed. And those guys make all the difference. So, man, when it comes to re-signing players in this offseason, obviously Vita Vea, I think, is still going to be on a rookie contract. But Shaq Barrett is going to be somebody you got to get. Ndamukong Suh, somebody that you've got to get right away. JPP, we hope sticks around too. But, man, how important is it to get those 2 guys back?
Well, I think that kind of brings us into that topic of, obviously the Bucs were incredible. They won the Super Bowl. But now, of course, everybody wants to get paid. So, and that I think makes it why it's so difficult to repeat in the NFL with the salary cap and then people wanting to get paid and different things like that. It becomes an issue, and the Bucs are going to have a big problem, like you just said, with JPP, with Shaq Barron. He had the franchise tag this year. So if they franchise him again, I think they have to give him like 20% more than what they paid him this year. And they, like you said, they got Ndamukong Suh on the defense, but on the offensive side of the ball, there's Goodwin. He's
Godwin.
Free agent there. And who's the other major? Isn't there another major? Gronk is, but he'll probably stay.
Gronk's staying. Brady's staying. Obviously, Brady's on a 2-year deal. you've got you've got a few players. Godwin's the big one. Evans got his money, but you got to pay Shaq Barrett.
And David,
he's proven it. He's proven over 2 years. He was a sack leader last year. This year he won a Super Bowl and was a big part of that. You got to pay him. You got to pay him. There's no way around it. But you hear all this talk about J.J. Watt coming in, all these other players that want to come in. Everybody wants to play for the Super Bowl champions. Hogwash. Pay your guys that won a Super Bowl. Stick with what got you there. And if these guys want to come and play for like the franchise minimum or the player league minimum, let them come in and play and try to win. That's fine. But Shaq Barrett has proven to be a stud, and Ndamukong Suh, I mean, he's always going to be the man. It was good to see him win a Super Bowl. I don't think he's won a Super Bowl before, has he?
No, he spent most of his career with Detroit, and so
so he didn't win shit.
No, he did not win. No,
he played for the Rams for a while. I think they went to a Super Bowl when he was there with them, and he was opposite of Aaron Donald. Think of that defensive line, Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh. And he got overshadowed a little bit by Aaron Donald, but he's still the man, though. He's still the man in the middle. Any type of run stopper.
When you say that, though, you know that Shaq. You know, he was second in pass rushes or not rushes, pass, whatever it is, whatever that category is. Hurries. And so, you know, I mean, having, you know, it's so he really is, like you said, Shaq Barrett is a really, really good player, and they need to keep him. So, I mean, he's a Pro Bowl, All Pro. You know, he's done it for a couple of years. He's not a rookie. So I'd feel comfortable. You know, I think Godwin's the one that may get away as far as free agency is concerned.
I don't think they're going to let it happen, man. I really don't. I mean, there's only so much money to go around, and you're going to have to get rid of some of these players. But man, he's just such a workhorse. I mean, and if you had to get rid of him or Evans, who would you get rid of? I mean, that's a tough question because, like, Mike Evans is Mr. Tampa Bay. He's been here for a while. He's taken his lumps. He says he's willing to take a pay cut now to keep the core of the team intact. But if you had the choice and you were Jason Light and you had to keep either Godwin or Evans, who would you keep?
I would keep Evans. I mean, partly because of the leadership, but he's also done that. He makes catches. He doesn't drop as many. But you know, just being that, I think he's like a safety net for a quarterback, especially when we're talking the red zone. You know, being tall, being, you know, strong. He can go up and get that ball where Godwin just doesn't have that same. He's fast and he has some other abilities. But I just think that Evans is the core.
Well, just to support your point, in the Super Bowl, how many times did we go down the field deep to Evans and he was interfered with? You know, some of those could be questions, but he seems to be the most interfered with wide receiver that I've ever been around. And he's very physical himself, and he also gets called with a lot of offensive pass interferences. But it seems like he's always on the good end of a lot of those pass interference calls, and the Super Bowl was no exception. We got a couple of big conversions from Mike Evans. But what I like about Chris Godwin is he's such a hard worker. He never complains. I mean, he's always going across the middle. He's working the middle of the field. If he drops a ball, he comes back and makes a good catch on the next one, which he rarely drops balls. He's just such a tough guy with strong hands that you can rely on him all the time. And sometimes he floats under the radar just because he plays here. And you got to think now that we won the Super Bowl, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be offering him big contracts. But did you watch Hard Knocks a few years ago? Do you remember seeing Chris Godwin on Hard Knocks as a Penn State wide receiver coming in? I mean, he just worked so hard to just make the roster, and then he became so good over the course of 2 or 3 years. So I'd hate to lose him, man. I'd hate to lose him. You got guys like OBJ out of Cleveland saying he wants to play here. He wants to play with Brady. But man, I mean, think of the difference in, you know, the locker room of having a Chris Godwin as opposed to having an OBJ. I mean, it's just.
Well, I guess you know what it's obviously going to come down to money. You know, if they can fit Godwin in with Evans and everybody else in that, you know, wide receiver core, then that's going to be great. But that's the other issue is wide receivers probably their deepest position on this team, and they've got a lot of money invested in those wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah, you got to think people like, you know, Gronk. Evans already said he'd take less money. Godwin would probably not go for like super gold wide receiver money right now. just because he knows he's in a situation right now that most receivers will never be in their entire careers, which is playing with the best ever and having on the other side of you Mike Evans, Gronk at tight end, along with O.J. Howard, who's probably going to be back next year, and Cameron Brate and Scotty Miller. You're in a situation where it's just a dream situation. You could make the money later, but get you a couple Super Bowls at a reasonable price, and then go get your money later. Problem is, you don't know if you're going to have an injury. You don't know if age is going to catch up to you. But I don't know. It's a tough decision, but a lot of it's the players' calls.
It is. Well, it's going to be. I think it'll be Godwin's call whether he comes back or not with the Bucs. I think the Bucs want him. It's just a matter of, obviously, if someone offers him $5 million more, he's going to take it most likely. And I would.
I don't know.
But the reality though is that because Levante David, his contract's up too, and so you got to get all these players. And I still think that the Bucs defense is what's going to. If their defense is not as good as this year, then they're not going to make the Super Bowl. But the defense is still what wins Super Bowls, and I think they need to. They have the core of the offense. That's there. So it's really a matter of if they need to make sure that they get Shaq, David, and Sue if they can.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather see them focus on the defensive side of that ball, making sure they get those free agents. Because I think you can, like you said, I mean, what's his name? Odell is a little pricier. He's still like at $14 million, but there's got to be a lot of receivers out there that are in the tail end of their career that we could squeeze something out of here for a pretty good,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Tom Brady needs a smorgasbord of Pro Bowl receivers to win. I mean, he's going to find the open guy. He needs some talent. We can give him the best talent that we can get him, but I mean, I don't like the whole OBJ thing. I mean, paying that kind of money for a guy to come in, but I would rather give that money to Chris Godwin to play and win. But don't forget, also with defense winning Super Bowls, I think the running game also is a big part of winning Super Bowls because the play action where we scored all of our points on it seems like were created because of our running game being successful. So let's not forget Lenny Fournette. He isn't guaranteed to come back next year, but it seems like he does. It seems like he's a very happy man right now, considering that about 6 months ago, he was in Duval County pouting. Now he seems to be very happy, chumming it up with Brady and the guys. So if we can keep Fournette, who didn't have a great year, but he had a great playoff, if we can keep him and Ron Jones Jr. together, I mean, somebody that could leave is Ron Jones Jr. He could go out and get a big contract, but he's still under a rookie contract, I believe, too, being in his third year. I'm not sure of that.
I think that's the issue with Fournette too, though. I mean, the reality is running backs don't have long shelf lives in the NFL. And if he can get a contract that's going to pay him more money, he's more likely to take it. But, you never know. Some of these guys will – but I'm not too worried about players like him just because, there are other running backs that can be picked up, especially that can be picked up for somebody who wants to win a Super Bowl.
Well, Adrian Peterson wants to come play for us now.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? Everybody wants to be a Buccaneer now. A year ago, we couldn't attract people to come in if we tried, but we got Adrian Peterson wanting to come in, but guys like that. He's trying to sneak in a free Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No. I don't think so. I think you got to have both those guys, honestly. I don't think Keyshawn Vaughn's really quite ready. I could be wrong. But from what I saw from him this year, with some big fumbles and some big situations, I don't think that he's ready to kind of fill in for a guy like Fournette. I think it's important to keep Fournette and Ron Jones Jr. if you can. But there's only so much money to go around. But these guys are going to have to take less money if they want to win a Super Bowl. You got to make a call.
Well, they definitely need somebody like Fournette that's big and powerful because
exactly
when he was running through people, like he ran through people.
Yeah, it's a matter of running between tackles and running outside tackles. Whereas it's not like Ron Jones Jr. is a perimeter runner. It's not like he's a small guy. He hits a hole hard, and he's become a fantastic 3-down back. But Fournette, like you say, he had a couple of runs where, he kind of reminded me of the beast mode, Marshawn Lynch a couple of years ago, where he spun off and broke 3 or 4 tackles to score a touchdown in the Green Bay game. But, you got to run between tackles. If you're going to run play action, you got to run between tackles. You got to be able to pick up those short yardage first downs, which was really the only disappointing part of that game to me was when we were on the 1-yard line and we went for it on 4th down. We couldn't score. That was a little depressing. I thought after that things were going to change.
Where you would like to see Fournette. carrying that.
That's right. That's what I thought too. You've got Vita Vea in at fullback. Shit, just hand him the ball. Let's have a refrigerator moment in Super Bowl 55. Let's let the biggest man who's ever scored a touchdown on offense, which is Vita Vea, by the way, who had a touchdown reception last year. Let him. And then we had the tackle who was a tackle eligible who dropped the pass in the back of the end zone. He actually caught it and he got knocked out of his hands at the end, which would have been a great play. But yeah, why don't we have Fournette in there? He seems like more of a stronger back that can get that extra yard on the second effort. But I'm not complaining.
No.
I am certainly not complaining.
Quite the different outcome than the second Seattle Super Bowl, right? Where they threw the ball.
I still can't believe they didn't give him the ball. I still can't believe it after all this. It seems like we had a pretty fun boat parade.
Yeah.
Was it 2 days ago? On Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's like there was a fun boat parade. I was not invited.
You didn't get an invite?
I didn't get an invite.
I just didn't know though.
No, I was not going to get into that mess. Although it looked like so much fun. It was like a very busy Wednesday, and you're looking at it and like Tom Brady's wasted and he's throwing the trophy over the ocean, and but good for those guys, man. They had a good time. I really wish people would not have been on top of each other like that. Just more bad press for the COVID situation here in Florida.
Well, hopefully the fact that everybody was outside will still, I feel more comfortable when you're outside. At least I know they were still pretty closely packed, but I don't think you're going to have a super spreader event, at least just because you are outside, and even though people are close together, there's enough free space and air. So hopefully,
yeah, I hope so. I hope you're right. But how hard is it to put a mask on? We were at the Experience on last Friday, 1 week ago, and we were outside all day. It's right there in the same exact vicinity as the boat parade was going on. You had to wear a mask the whole day. Was there a couple times where I wanted to like pull my mask and breathe a little bit? Of course. But it's not that hard. But I guess if you're pounding beers, it's kind of hard to wear a mask.
Look, most of those people in the crowd were not pounding beers. The people on the boats were, but I think most of the people in the crowds were just yelling and screaming and being hot. So, but no, you're right. People can wear a mask. I mean, when we were holding those rallies in Palm Harbor, I didn't necessarily feel that it was necessary to wear a mask, but other people wanted to wear a mask, and so I wore a mask because it's not that big a deal.
It's not. It's so easy. And you know who don't like to wear a mask? Tom Brady is not a mask guy.
Yeah.
I've never seen the guy wear a mask ever. I don't know. There's rumors that his political position is that of a Trump supporter. I really don't care. Honestly, I mean, if he's a major Trump supporter, obviously I would not. He had a hat in his locker one time, and I think he's gone golfing several times with Donald Trump. But a lot of people, especially on the left, that are Bucs fans, take issue with that. They don't like him. What do you think about mixing your other life activities with your politics?
Well, I think in this particular case that, I believe that he probably was a friend. I think a lot of people in the NFL, a lot of people that were very wealthy had been friends of his, or at least business friends and different things like that. I haven't heard him speak in support of the president or ex-president since he's been here, or even I don't even remember hearing people, him. It's not like he tweets and he does Facebook posts about sharing the presidential stuff or the lies or the conspiracy theories or anything like that. So I'm okay. People have staying out of it. What's that?
I mean, he for the most part, he always stays out of it. He's very apolitical. Until that hat popped up in his locker one day, is when he started getting a lot of shit. He's never really addressed it. But I'll tell you one thing though, he was invited to the RNC just this past year to give an address at the RNC, and he flatly turned that down.
Remember, Bill Belichick was he was going to be awarded the Medal of Freedom or
for winning football games. Yes, of course. Yeah.
And he declined. And I mean, I think he had a past relationship with President Trump as well. I mean, I think people both felt that Brady and Kraft and Belichick were all at least on a friendly terms with him. And so, we've talked about it. I mean, I voted for him. I mean, I don't think I would have ever been his friend in the past, but people's positions on people can change over time, and as they should. So
Yeah.
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. He hasn't. He's not sharing things. He's not talking about. He's not dismissing Black Lives Matter. He's not dismissing the issues that people are concerned about. So, I get it. The position of athletes, and as far as taking a political position, because the reality is half the people in they do owe more than just they're entertainers. They all, like everybody, we think of them, or they think of themselves as athletes, and they are, but at the same time they're just entertainers, and so their job is to entertain people.
Well, it was think about Charles Barkley, his famous commercial, "I'm not a role model," and then Michael Jordan was the same way. When Michael Jordan was a role model, but Michael Jordan never got involved in any type of political issues up until like lately. It's been the first time. I mean, he was pushed by the community to try to get involved in social issues, and he just never said. He didn't say that. He said his number one goal was to sell Nikes, and he got a lot of flack for that. But I guess the question is it the responsibility of an athlete to use their sway and their megaphone that they have been given through their athletic ability to try to make positive change in the world?
I don't know that I would call it their responsibility as far as making, because everybody's situation is obviously different and unique and all that kind of stuff as far as is what is on the table and maturity levels. And, the reality is Michael Jordan came into this league and is 19, 20 years old, made a lot of money. He also came into the league when obviously most of the players were black at the time, but still being an African-American in the United States was still not the same as it is today. And the backlash that probably he would have encountered would have been much, much different than any sort of support that he would have received today. So I think, a lot of that, the sad part about it is that he would have faced such a backlash had he stood up, whether it was police brutality. I mean, obviously there was the Rodney King beatings over those years that he played, and he stayed quiet. And I don't know if those, but still, people shouldn't feel that their careers would suffer because they want to speak out against something that's important. And so,
do you think that Tom Brady might be following the Michael Jordan playbook on, being sort of apathetic when it comes to politics, or just maybe keeping distant when it comes to those things and just focusing on your craft?
I think Tom Brady is just a normal middle-aged white guy that these things don't usually affect. And that it's just not his problem to a certain extent. And so,
normal middle-aged white guy, Tom Brady. Yeah, is a normal middle-aged white guy a billionaire?
But it just doesn't affect them. They say I've worked hard. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I mean, the reality is they just don't see the impact the same way. And there's no, I don't know.
Well, why should we care? I guess is my issue is why should we care what his political beliefs are? I mean, just because we like what he does on the football field, does that mean that we need to agree on everything? And it's very difficult to try to justify all of your purchases in life and have them all align with your politics. For instance, I just scarfed down before the show a Chick-fil-A sandwich, and it was one of the most delicious things that I've eaten in a long time. I do not like their position on a lot of LGBT matters that they've taken as a Christian company. Don't agree with that, but damn, the sandwiches are good. And do I have to drive by there and go all the way to Popeyes to get a sandwich? Because I'm not eating a McDonald's chicken sandwich. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Who would want to do that? And then I got to look into McDonald's. Oh, well, what's McDonald's politics? What's Ron? Who did Ronald vote for? I don't know. I mean, he's a clown, so he probably is a Trump supporter. But I don't know that. So if I don't go to Home Depot because Home Depot supports, everyone says, don't go to Home Depot. Don't go to Home Depot. Well, then I go to Lowe's and I find out Lowe's is almost as bad in terms of who they give their money to. So then I go to Ace Hardware, and Ace Hardware's got Fox News on when I walk in the door. And I'm like, Jesus, somebody going to open up a liberal hardware store? I mean, what are you going to do?
Look, that's what I had to do with the Jeep Club, right? I had to start my own progressive Jeep Club.
Well, that maybe I should start my own liberal hardware store. What do we call it? Let's. If anybody's listening, can we have some name suggestions for my liberal hardware store that I'm getting ready to start? Because we are on our way because we've got to do it. There's just nowhere I can go.
So what we should do though is we should get screws that turn to the left, right? That tighten to the left. We do things the opposite. And they move to the right.
Yeah, we sell left-handed cigarettes.
Yeah. Sell left-handed cameras and stuff and all that kind of stuff, right? And see if we can get anybody to buy them.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that you can align your purchasing habits with your politics and so forth. Also, your sports, because it's all convoluted at the end of the day, and someone's politics should not judge everything they do. Now, if Publix is giving a bunch of money for people to storm the Capitol in an insurrection, and it's actually Publix, not like someone who made money from Publix, but the actual store Publix, which I know is close to your heart because you used to work there. Do you go to Publix now because of the alleged money being given to the insurrection?
The issue with the insurrection money is really not my biggest problem, because although the money that this woman made was because she owns Publix, that money was donated by her. The issue I do have with Publix, however, is the $100,000 that they put into the PAC of Governor DeSantis. And then all of a sudden, Publix is the preferred provider, or at least at one point, the only provider of the vaccine.
Right. So, yeah, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, right?
So I have made a conscious effort to shop elsewhere. So it doesn't mean that I'm never going to shop at Publix. I mean, the reality is they still have BOGOs. And if I go buy the BOGOs, they're not making any money on me. So I just don't buy anything else. So, but no, I have made a conscious decision to shop elsewhere. Unfortunately, that's the only way that corporations listen is when it hurts them in the pocketbook. And I don't know that my effort is going to hurt Publix, but you know what? I got 5 or 6 grocery stores within 2 or 3 miles of my apartment. So I have plenty of choices, and I can choose grocery stores that don't get involved politically, or at least who don't give the DeSantis. So, I mean,
it's difficult. It's difficult. There are places that I don't go. And, even if we just make a conscious effort to go less, I think it does make a difference. But stores like Publix, holy crap, they're so big. They have such a monopoly on the grocery business, at least in Florida, that it's going to take so much to even slow them down. And it's hard, man. It's hard. And I'm not going to say it's hard because Publix is so great. It's just so accessible. They're everywhere. And, I was just in there, I think yesterday, the day before, but I try to go to Winn-Dixie, but you know what? I've never looked into Winn-Dixie's politics. Winn-Dixie's based out of Jacksonville. What are their politics? I don't know. Just don't assume that their alternative is always going to be, better.
Though that, Publix has come up several times over the last 2 or 3 years as far as their contributions to politics and the different things. So they have, outside, I've never heard that Winn-Dixie, I've never heard these other grocery stores get involved in these stories. So, I can't assume that they're not giving money, but they haven't given money to the point where it's gotten them into the newspaper or that we've had articles about them. And like you said, Winn-Dixie's not a small grocery store. They're a large grocery store.
Yeah, not at all.
And we don't hear about those corporations. Now, one of the other differences, Publix is a private company. So most of Publix's stock is owned by the Jenkins family. So they can make those decisions and give contributions in such a way that is different than a completely, listed corporation or a listed grocery store, like Kroger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, publicly shared, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's the other thing. But it really does, I've, in my professional life, I've made decisions. I'm not, if I know somebody, I'm not going to look at their stupid voter registration card to find out if they're Republican or not. But if they're supporting Trump, especially now, I'm not going to do business with them. I'm not going to refer business. And it's not because of it's not because their politics. It's because they're supporting a terrible human being. Mm-hmm. And support a terrible human being, you're not that much different in my eyes than they are. And so I'm not going to do business with people to where the profit will end up in the coffers of, Trump's PACs or one of these others. And the other issue is that even these local Republicans who, say, oh, I stay out of it. But that's the problem. They need to be involved. They need to be telling their constituents that the this nonsense with the vote and the election is this fraud stuff is nonsense, and that the election was fair and free, and that these conspiracy theories are false. But
Mm.
they keep their mouths shut. It's just like being complicit with the Nazis, and they allow these Republicans to just keep going off the bridge. And and now it's gone to the point where they're so scared of them, because if they do say anything bad, they're afraid they're going to get primaried out of a seat. And
Of course,
all of our
of
local
course.
schools too here.
I was actually asked to contribute to a story today from the Sinclair Broadcasting Group, who's writing a story on allegedly or supposedly there was a group of moderate Republicans who had a Zoom call recently, and were trying to kind of chart a path for the party to move forward by disassociating themselves with Donald Trump, and whether or not that it was even there was a feasible path in moving forward by shedding him from themselves. And my contribution to the story is that I think they have to, right? You have to rebrand at this point. They jumped on this Trump train a long time ago, and it's going off a cliff, and they're stuck on it. So they're going to have to jump off. But by jumping off, they're losing this huge, enthusiastic base of loyal people who will now go to a new party called the MAGA Party, which the former President Trump has already threatened to implement if Republicans choose this path. And by rebranding, they're going to set themselves back for so long, because the party's going to be completely fractured. And it's just whether or not they have the guts to actually do it. But it's a tough time for the party right now, because if you continue to embrace Trump and his policies and himself, it's really not policies, it's just his personality, right? Because I don't even know that he has a set of principles and personalities. It's just, I'm the only one that can fix this, and if you don't include me, then I'm going to take my people and we're going to go elsewhere. But if you continue to do that, the demographics of this country and local polling and elections have suggested that the American people as a whole are rejecting Trump. And so you can't win either way, really, at this point. You have to disassociate yourself and try to move forward.
No, and it's look, I was in the middle of this stuff. I mean, the Republicans, this is, I hate to say it, but it's no different than like when people gain weight. When I got the 400 pounds, I didn't get the 400 pounds overnight. It took a long time of progressively, adding weight, and all of a sudden you wake up and you're 400 pounds. And guess what? You can't get rid of the 400 pounds overnight either, or that extra 200 or whatever that extra weight is. Like, you can't get rid of it. And the Republicans aren't going to be able to get rid of these Trumpians, tomorrow. But if they don't, they're going to face the same thing I was facing, and that's death. The death of the party is what they will face if they don't make changes and they allow the party just to continue, to wither away, because it is horrific. And, I think what you said, though, is do they have the guts? And my honest answer is no. They have no guts, no stomach, no nothing. So, in my opinion, the Republicans, the leader of the party, the executive committee of the party, and when I'm talking to Pinellas County and Pasco, too. So, if they happen to be listening, I'm going to call them a coward. So, every single one of those people, every Republican who's elected locally is a coward, because I've never heard them once say a bad word. Not even a bad word about Trump, but just to try to be honest and tell the truth. All they do is just either they stay silent, which is just as bad, or they repeat stuff. And so, I don't know what, because even our local elected officials, who most people would say at some point, oh yeah, those are nice people, they're good people. Wrong. So, in my opinion, they're all cowards. I'm not sure that the Republican Party has what it takes anymore to, or the people that have the intestinal fortitude to do what is necessary and what is right. I mean, doing the right thing is not easy sometimes. And the Republican Party has taken the easy road way too many times. I mean, even look at Joe Biden with some of the stuff that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, they push him and he just says, no, I'm not going to go there. And he said that during the election too, that he was willing to disagree with the very far progressive parts of the party, because he knew it was the better thing for America, even though it may not have been best for him personally.
Well, try to explain that to a Republican, or at least a Trump Republican in these times. They would have you convinced that he is completely appeasing the left wing of the party, and it simply isn't true. Just by the people, at least what he's done. He does some things to appease, but the way I see it is that the Democratic Party and the moderates and the far left work more as a joint than they do a fracture, and I think that there could come a time where the tent gets so split up where it could look like it does now, but you can never really let the far-reaching wing of your party be in control of your party, and that's the problem. And Republicans knew damn well during the 2012 2016 primary that was going on. All these establishment Republicans, they knew that Donald Trump was crazy. I mean, look at all the things he did to insult the other candidates he was running against. Little Marco, yeah. Lying Ted, all these people that are. I mean, he said that Ted's wife was ugly. He said that his dad killed Kennedy. And not so much in those words, but he implied that he had something to do with the assassination of Kennedy. Lindsey Graham hated him. Look at Lindsey Graham's comments on Donald Trump 5 years ago versus today. It was too tempting when they saw that Donald Trump had amassed this huge, enthusiastic base of established voters who would run through a wall for Donald Trump, who was a Republican, and they would vote for Republican for him. They could not resist the temptation of jumping on that train, and they did that, and now they got to get their butts off because it's taking them over a cliff. And how are they going to do that? Guess what? That is a them problem, not a me problem, and I don't care if they ever figure it out, because you're right. They've shown no intestinal fortitude, or let's say testicular fortitude, to
well, intestinal. I mean, there's lots of women too, so I don't want to make it sound like there's only men over there. So
no, they've been cowards throughout this, and you're right. They try to mask it sometimes with silence, like that's okay. Well, he's that's just who he is. He's just it's refreshing to hear someone really say what they think and not lie to you. But they've done nothing to stop him, with the few exceptions of people like Mitt Romney. They've done nothing but encourage him so that they can have more power. But now they're in a place where if they fight him and they try to disassociate themselves, guess what? Every Republican primary from now on is, whether it be a dog catcher race or a presidential race, there's going to be a primary with a MAGA candidate, and there's going to be a Republican candidate. And they're going to fight like hell before they even get to the Democrat. And to me, that is a gift-wrapped package handed to the Democrats. And they've done it to themselves.
Well, I can tell you that locally, the last primary here for the Republican Party in my district, actually, no, yeah, my district, it was for U.S. Congress. So that was the race that they were going to end up running against Charlie Crist. And there was no Republican candidate. It was who is the most Trumpy. The sign was, I'm the most Trump. I'm the most Trump. And
right. And what makes you think that's going to change,
It's not. Like, I do not see, I've been involved enough. And obviously there's some Republicans locally who are not supportive of Trump. But they're chickens. They're chicken shits, and they keep their mouth shut, and they won't, And so they'll go along with it all just because they're afraid of losing their position or their power. And Adam Kinzinger, isn't it? He's the Republican from Illinois, I believe. One who
yeah, I think so. I can't keep up with most of these guys.
I've listened to a couple of his interviews, and he does have the testicular fortitude to discuss these issues and talk about it. And it's just it's a scary thought to realize how they've just circled the wagon, and they care more about the power. They care more about being important in their eyes, and instead of just doing the right thing and what's best for America. And so that's the real issue with the Republican Party, is that they've put themselves ahead of country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And what's funny is the Trump following and the Trump base and the MAGA people, they really remind me of the NRA of about 8-9 years ago. they weren't the majority, but they were the loud minority, right? There were only so many of them, but they were so loud and so dependable as voters and activists that they ran the show. A good example would be the Manchin Toomey bill that came out after one of the terrible shootings that took place at an elementary school up in, I believe it was Sandy Hook, when they tried to pass a bill that would require background checks on all gun sales, not just the ones that are made in person, but the ones that are made online, and that it would be heavily enforced. And even though I think it was 88 to 90%, and you can check that and look it up if I'm wrong, correct me, of the American public at that time was in favor of all of the Manchin Toomey bill. However, the 10% that was against it were so loud through the NRA that they were unable to even get a Senate vote on the matter, even after such a horrible offense occurred where kids were shot in the face. Just imagine that, that 90% of the American people, and when 90% of the American people are for something and nothing can get done, that's called broken government. And that's the problem we have now.
I would agree. And especially obviously all that money that comes in from that. And the NRA is one of those issues that, we've talked about this when I was in Palm Harbor and working at the early vote sites. And, they'd have these stupid signs up there that would say, was it God, guns, and Trump or something like that?
Yeah, I saw that T-shirt just the other day, actually. I think I was at a grocery store, probably Publix.
Probably.
I did. I saw that shirt.
I mean, look, and let's be real about Publix, all right? So I did work there. I worked there years ago. The company was founded in Lakeland, Lakeland or Plant City, whatever. It's one of the headquarters. It was one of the headquarters of the KKK. All right. Central Florida has not been a very open and inviting environment for many, many years in this state. And that's where Publix was founded. And so when I worked for Publix in the 90s, I had a good old country boy as my supervisor, and they had, it is rampant through that corporation. And I'm sure it's a lot better today than it ever was. And they were sued for years for hiring practices with women, not paying women as much as their male counterparts, not promoting women. So, I mean, they've faced their own issues as many others have as they've grown through the years. But it is a frustrating thing. And, I don't know. It just...
I'm trying to go to Sprouts. I like Sprouts. I don't know what their politics are, but I'll find out. But I do like Sprouts. It's like a health food store. It's not that expensive. We actually got like 24 wings there yesterday, fresh, for, gosh, what was it? They were like $10, $12. Good deal on some wings, and they were delicious. But trying to go there. A lot more options now, actually. We do have a lot more grocery options. But it's tough. It's tough to align your politics with your purchasing habits because, let's face it, all these things that we buy that are made by corporations, eventually go back to the, Koch brothers. I believe they own all the companies that make toiletries, and it's just so hard. I'm not going to start using alternative toilet paper because of my politics. There's only so much you can do, but hopefully Tom Brady will come out and in support of something other than Donald Trump. I believe he did just bought a place down in Florida, down in South Florida, near where the Trump kids have just bought some land to build. And the rumor is that Ivanka Trump may be challenging Marco Rubio.
Well, that would serve him right. Little weasel down there, and
yeah,
much ass kissing as he's been trying to do to Trump.
Little Marco, it
serves him right to get primaried by a Trump. Even though, Rubio has given his soul to Trump after all the insults and all the other stuff of the campaign. He has just essentially sworn his allegiance. And that's still not enough.
Spineless.
Not enough for Trump. And that is what is happening. Look, I don't care what happens to Rubio. Honestly, I don't care if he falls off a boat. I don't care. But if
Is that a race? Is that a racist remark?
no, we're in Florida. There's people on boats all the time. Tom Brady's on a boat.
He didn't say a raft,
No, just we're on boats. Just fall off a boat.
like a yacht.
Well, you fall off a boat, like you're lost. That's it. Like there's no like if you fall off on the side of the road, someone might rescue you. Like you
Just making sure you're PC, bro.
Yeah, no, none of that. But other Republicans need to take notice of this. Like Rubio has tried to actually be a pretty good Trump supporter. You know, since he lost the primary, he's been pretty much lockstep.
He's been a good boy.
He's called the impeachment trial what a waste of time, if throwing gasoline on a fire, you know, doing this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And he's still going to get primaried by a Trump. And so, like, I tell you, all these other little sniveling little chicken shits Republicans out there who are doing his bidding, he will still turn on them. He does not care.
Hypothetical situation. Ivanka Trump beats Rubio in a primary, which is very possible, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, she will easily.
Yeah, very possible. Very possible. And she beats him. What Democrat runs against Ivanka Trump with a chance to win? We got to get a Democrat in office in the Senate. There needs to be some balance of power in Florida.
You know, I think I would. I'm not going to say I would rather face Ivanka than Rubio, but I might. Because I think there's going to be so much backlash against her that the Democratic Party, I mean, people would be out in mass to vote. I mean, obviously people don't like Rubio, but I think there's some people who just like, whatever. But I think Ivanka would elicit action.
Ivanka Trump is not Donald Trump. The only thing she really shares with him is a name. Do you really think she's going to? Yeah. Do you think that she's going to really get out there and say the types of things? Now, I think Donald Jr. has the capacity to get out and be raucous enough to get these people fired up about all of their fears of brown people and immigrants and taking their jobs. But I just can't see Ivanka and Jared Trump relating in any way, shape, or form to these poor white folks who had their job taken away, who they think was from a Mexican crossing the border. I don't know how she does it. I don't see it happening. In fact, I don't think she wins. I don't think she has I just don't think she has the charisma. She's certainly not qualified. And I think Rubio may very well welcome that.
I think she would beat Rubio probably pretty handedly.
Really?
Yeah, just because I mean, it's not a matter of her; it's the last name. And
that happens a lot. Yeah,
it's primary. Because all Donald has to do is get out there and says, "Hey, vote for Ivanka," and every one of these ass clowns that was on the side of the road waving signs and yelling and screaming at people, who half of them don't vote, but either way, are going to vote for Ivanka, and they're not even going to consider. They're going to be out there waving Ivanka signs all over the place, and they're going to scrap Rubio. And so, I mean, I even heard Republicans pissed off at Gus Bilirakis because he's not doing enough. And so, it's you have the insanity of these Republicans, and they're thankfully, I mean, Democrats have had kind of like this litmus test issue, and I wasn't a member of the party, but with the Me Too movement, there was a lot going on that some very high-level Democrats had said some things that were inappropriate, and they weren't. I don't want to minimize what things happened, but some of them weren't that bad. But they still lost their positions in the party and different things, and they cleaned the party though, in doing that. And some people may not have been, but I don't see that happening in the Republican Party. And so they say and do. I mean, this Green lady, right, in Georgia, the stuff that she said. And this is the crazy part, right? Like Liz Cheney gets censured in Wyoming, and other Republicans who voted to impeach have gotten censored by their state party, and yet this woman in Georgia, the Republicans basically wouldn't even remove her from the committees. Like they forced the Democrats to remove her from a committee that she should have been removed from.
She was on the education committee. How scary is that?
That's the spinelessness, the lack of testicular fortitude, the cowardness of these Republicans that I talk about right there. They'll go after Liz Cheney, who's standing up and doing the right thing.
Yeah. And how do family values jive with this new Republican Party? Because I read today something about this green lady that you're talking about, the congresswoman from Georgia that had an affair with the guy that she worked out in the gym with. And that, I don't normally get involved in people's livelihoods outside of their job, their personal lives. But when you claim to be the party of family values, how do you let that stuff slip by? I mean, it started with Trump, right? I mean, he's obviously not a Christian man, but the Christian wing of the party swears to God that he's the next coming of Jesus Christ. How does that line up? I don't really get it.
He's a changed man. That's how I've heard people describe it. So they say,
a what?
He's a changed man.
Oh, for real? He found God.
Yes, he found God. Yes.
I don't even think he was looking for him.
You saw him hold the Bible. His hand didn't burn. He's a changed person, right?
It was upside down, and the church didn't want him there. I used to park beside that church all the time. To go to my friend's house. I lived right beside that church, and some of the most liberal people in Washington attended that church. So yeah, he probably was not welcome there. Can we spend the last 5 minutes talking about some logistics? I know our agents have been talking to one another about about this race, and I'm starting to get a little worried. How do you see this 40? For those of you who may not listen every week, which I can't imagine going a week without listening to us, but for those of you who do not listen to us every week, Dan has challenged me to the 40-yard dash, which originated when I think it was Scotty Miller had said that he wanted to race.
No, he wanted to race, but he just said he was the fastest wide receiver in the NFL, I think.
He said he's the fastest wide receiver in the NFL and said he could win a race with Tyreek Hill, this guy. So Dan then pulled a Scooter Miller and challenged me, who's also nicknamed the Cheetah, to a 40-yard dash. It ain't easy being cheesy. So I did begrudgingly accept the challenge. And I'm not sure that I did ask for a month, and I know that we are 2 weeks out now. So how do you see this playing out?
Well, I've been doing some thinking about it, and I wanted to make it more fair, but also more hopefully enjoyable or more entertaining. So I thought maybe like we can involve a couple other challenges involved in there, and maybe a chug of beer.
Now we're talking.
Bring back to the old fraternity days.
It's Greek week.
Yeah. Maybe we can do this over at Philippi Park or something, and we could run up the burial mound, and we could chug a beer, and then we could run 40 yards. It doesn't have to be too, but we can add like a couple little things in there.
Change a diaper.
I'm not really.
Yeah.
That did pop into my mind to kind of make it a little bit more fair because I've never changed a diaper. So,
well, my wife would say the same about me.
So maybe we should add that in there to see.
Yeah, that might help you.
All of a sudden,
I'm going to do more though. I'm going to start doing it more.
You're going to start wondering, Kris, why are you changing diapers all of a sudden? No reason.
Yeah, we're having a competition. I have to think about that one because the 40-yard dash in it by itself was sort of. I'm sort of worried about that by itself, but I was thinking we could make it sort of a charity event too. Hopefully, maybe we could raise some money for the Clearwater Bar Foundation that provides legal help to those who can't afford it.
I got it. We can do a Jeep pull. So you got to see who can pull a Jeep faster than 40 yards. You got that. That's the addition to it. So you got to hook yourself up to a Jeep. We'll get one of the local Jeep dealers involved. They'll let us use a couple new fancy Jeeps.
I've got the perfect Jeep that I will use. It's in my garage, and it's Frankie's.
Remote control.
I would clean house with that thing. Let's start with the 40. All right, and I think that we could make monthly competitions between the two of us, and we could even make charities out of these two. But that way, if I do lose the 40, which I don't plan on, I'll have the ability to redeem myself. But I think the challenge was whoever loses has to immediately eat a hot chip, right?
Well, whether it's
right when you lose, you have to pop it in.
No, that's fine with me.
Can you imagine? That would be terrible.
That's good. That's not so bad. I'm not worried about it.
Oh,
Sure, I'll
man.
accept that. I'm not worried.
You're not worried because you think you're going to win, or you're not worried because your hot chips don't
I'm
bother
going to do
you?
my best. I have no idea, but I'm going to run as fast. I'm going to run like I have to eat a hot chip afterwards. So it's going to be running pretty fast.
Well, I'm leaving here and I'm going to the Foot Locker because I need a pair of running shoes.
Well, so
And
since that's a couple weeks away and we have an important weekend coming up, I don't have anything important coming up, but you do. And so what are you doing for Valentine's Day, if anything?
well, right now we have reservations at the what's it called, the Villa Portofino that's over in Palm Harbor, Cafe Portofino, which is an Italian restaurant. It's supposed to be really nice in Palm Harbor on Alt 19. Never been. So right now we're gonna go over there, which is very close to the house. So it's a Sunday night, school night. So we're going to go over there and then hopefully make some nice plans for the day before that leading up. But, you just can't be around a lot of people, so there's not a whole lot we can do. But hopefully we'll get a vacation here pretty soon and be able to celebrate that way.
Are you taking President's Day off? Going to celebrate?
Is that Monday?
Yes, I believe it is. It's a federal holiday, but I don't think a lot of other places celebrate it, though.
I looked it up the other day. And in the federal holiday list, they had it listed as Washington's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So no longer President's Day. I'm not sure. It's just Washington's birthday.
I thought it was Washington's birthday, and then they changed it to President's Day because I don't know.
I don't know.
Officially changed it else in that little the website that you looked up on.
Well, I will be working. I take a lot of days off. I was supposed to go fishing this morning, and I was too lazy to fish. So I decided instead to come in my office and sit down on my butt and do work. Because fishing would have caused me to have to get all the poles ready and all that stuff. So I didn't go out. But next Saturday, I'll be out on the water.
That answers Tom and Carol's question from 4:00 today. Did you catch any fish?
I did not. And you miss every shot you don't take. And I didn't take any shots today. So, yeah, I didn't come in. I took a lot of Monday off. It was the Monday after Super Bowl, And so I felt bad. I take Monday off, and then you don't work Friday morning. I mean, I don't know. Usually it wouldn't bother me, but today it did for some reason. So, no fish, Mom. Sorry. Not bringing home any fish to cook.
You're going to have to cook. You're going to have to find something else to eat for dinner tonight.
You're going to have to have fish sticks, frozen fish sticks again. But I will get out next Saturday.
Cool.
But what do you have going on this weekend, Dano?
Since there is no Valentine in this life,
and why not? Why not? There should be.
It's a complicated story. So
okay. Well, we'll save it for next week, but I'm going to hope you do it.
But I may try to do there's some yoga classes that they're doing, outdoor yoga classes. So I might attend one of those on Sunday. So there's
Honeymoon Island.
No, I don't think it's in Palm Harbor actually though. So there's a place in Palm Harbor that's doing Sunday yoga, and so I'm going to do Saturday as well, as long as it doesn't rain tomorrow morning. So that's
sounds good, man. I'd like to do yoga. Let me know if you like it. I'd like to hear more about it on our next show, and I'd like to maybe get out and join you. I need to do some yoga myself. It sounds very relaxing and healthy.
Well, I can tell you, I already do like it, and I'm planning on. So I do my running, my biking, and my swimming, and so now I'm going to try to work in yoga once or twice a week. It definitely, it obviously it keeps you busy, but at the same time, it really does mind and body. So.
Yep. Nope. Totally agree. Well, hey, as always, we enjoyed it. I appreciate you putting it together. And go Bucs! What a season! We got Chris Archer back in the dugout for the Rays. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but if he can pull off what he did last time he was here, maybe he can add something to the pitching staff that's a little depleted.
Yeah, next week we'll have to talk a little bit about the Lightning and the Rays now that the spring training is going to get started again. Now that we, usually this is we got to get going here, but usually we're done talking football like in November. So outside of mock drafts and free agency. So this is
exactly. We would be talking about the draft right now and who we should be getting. If you fast forward back like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, we were going over people like Vita Vea and who we should get, and it's turned out that we've had some good drafts, and
Usually
so
we're
we don't
talking
have to.
baseball in January, so it's nice. It's a nice change.
Yes, it feels good to be a champion.
Yes. So, all right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thankfully, Kris made it to the show. He did not make it fishing, but he did make it to the show. So we appreciate
priorities.
and hopefully we'll see you or listen to you next week. Have a great weekend.
Don't let your hot dog stand.